The prisoner, like the two old town boys who go on a crazy ride along with Bill Murray's character in the film Groundhog Day, you can be forgiven for thinking that every day is the same and that nothing you do matters. But you're wrong. What you do does matter, especially to your friends and family. You just don't realize it yet. Also, and here's the truth that no one tells you when you're in a rut. If life is truly like the punishment given to Sisyphus, like pushing a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down again, that's not an excuse to lie down to it all. After all, as Bill Murray's character realized, if you are stuck in your own personal time loop, where everything you do doesn't matter, you have the freedom to make small changes to your life every single day. I mean, if what you do doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter if you try something new and make a fool of yourself because, well, nothing you do matters, right? Of course, you're not in a time loop, it only feels that way sometimes, so take heart and remember that, just like water erodes rock over time, you can move even the most difficult of problems if only you put your shoulder to the task. Of course, if you're the prisoner in your life, it begs the question, who's the prison guard? The truth, and you may not like me for saying this one bit, is that the person who's trapping you in an unhappy life is you. It's your feelings, your thoughts and your beliefs about life that are making you unhappy, not the universe outside your head. Sure, the world can be a hard and unforgiving place at times, but physical pain and suffering are as nothing compared to the pain you experience from your thoughts, feelings and beliefs. When we think of the worst kinds of suffering imaginable, we quickly turn towards the prisoners who suffered at the hands of the world's worst dictators. Hitler, the man behind the Holocaust; Stalin, a man who sent millions of his own citizens to their deaths in the Siberian gulags; and Pol Pot, a man who murdered millions of his fellow countrymen in the killing fields of Cambodia. They fill our minds with horror, and we can be struck down into a pit of despair by our knowledge of man's inhumanity to man. When we realize how just three men from vastly different cultures, who spoke different languages and believed different things, can share a common barbarity, we are also left asking ourselves one question: is the human race even worth saving? I mean, the millions of Jews that died in Hitler's concentration camps, the millions of people that Stalin condemned to cold and miserable deaths, and the mass murder of millions of people in Cambodia by Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge, can leave us feeling as if the whole human race is damned. But it's not the actions of the dictators that we should focus on. Instead, it's the prisoners that survived their reigns of terror that we should listen to, for there is great hope in their stories. The victims of the world's dictators have endured some truly horrific experiences, but the fact that they survived the worst horrors imaginable should tell us something about ourselves. They, like you, were just ordinary men and women caught up in something they could not control. But their strength of spirit, their strength to endure, has the same potency in you. They speak to us through the years of something noble in the human heart. And that same nobility also rests in you, too. They survived the horrors of the death camps, gulags and killing fields, and like you, they are the beacon in the darkness, the evidence of the light at the center of the human soul. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist who survived the Nazi death camps, lost his whole family to the Nazis. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. In his book, he reminds us that even in the most depraved and inhuman of conditions, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. In Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl gives a detailed account of the treatment he and his fellow prisoners experienced at the hands of the Nazi guards. He recalls in vivid detail how some people just couldn't cope with the unjust treatment they received. How, seeing no escape from their tormentors, some of his fellow prisoners chose to commit suicide by grabbing onto the electric fences around the camp and electrocuting themselves, or by simply refusing to eat and so starve to death. When Frankl asked himself the question, why are some people able to endure the horrors of the death camps while others cannot? He discovered that the reason wasn't necessarily because they were the strongest, bravest or most intelligent of individuals. No, it was those prisoners who had some ultimate meaning in their life that endured the worst conditions of the concentration camps. His point, then, is similar to Nietzsche's. He who has a why can endure anyhow. You can endure anything life throws at you if you can find meaning in your suffering. The reason why the experiences of former prisoners like Viktor Frankl speak to us in such a profound way is also the same reason why a film like The Shawshank Redemption continues to be one of the most loved and most successful films of all time. People really do not like to see an innocent man punished unjustly. We all have a natural aversion to injustice, and it's why we root for those that endure unjust treatment and will them onwards toward freedom. Fortunately for us, we will never have to go through the horrors that Viktor Frankl experienced. But for many of us, enduring the ordinary misery of the daily grind, we can quickly come to feel like we're living the same day over and over again. Our escape from this feeling is to recognize that, while our lives may seem like prisons without bars, we are, to echo Sartre's words, condemned to be free. Despite all the pain and suffering still to come our way, we know we can make small changes that cause many ripples over time. We can put our shoulder to the task of life, and we can stubbornly refuse to give up our ultimate freedom, the freedom to choose our own way, to choose our own meaning in life. And if we can do that, then we can break free of the chains that bind us.